That makes sense. Meeting to order. I'll have Andrea do a roll call, check the quorum.
Can we?
I apologize. I was on a phone call.
So how many more do we?
If they're gonna get off, we need another school board member.
Who else is?
Kyle Tappan said.
You know what's true. Nobody ever wants to see that. Study it.
You gonna do a roll call?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
Huh?
You Go ahead and.
The coffee can be in the.
Yeah. he did.
Okay.
Guys, we're gonna do roll call. Jean Schilling is absent. Kari.
Yep.
Kim Severson.
Here.
Bradley Christensen.
Here.
Kyle Tabbert. Nick Bailey. John Bork. Rick Scholbrock. Mark Toma.
Here.
Corey Poliu. Timothy O'Keefe. Douglas Mole.
Here.
Enos Loberg.
Here.
Mark Smaby.
Here.
AJ Stone.
So we have 203 groups of the quorum.
As long as they stay on to vote, then they'll still be a quorum. They stay on to vote, but if they have to get off, then we will not have a school board quorum.
How long can you guys be on, Brad? And is it Kim?
Kim,
I'm 11 o'clock.
So we still have quorums.
we still can vote without them. Yes,
Without who? With
the school board members,
okay,
because we have 2 and 2 of 2.
okay.
You lost me on that. We got 2 of 2 of 2.
You have to have 2 members present out of at least 2 of the 3 units.
2 mayors. Yeah.
And I've got 2 supervisors.
So we got quorum. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. I'll take a second. I got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Everybody in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go into the business discussion. Cindy?
Yes, hi. I'm just looking at this. Sales ratio review. That's what we'll do. Well, we'll just sort of go along. I don't know if you guys brought your packets. Does anyone need one? No? We'll just sort of go through it. Assessor professional overview. Just some differences between the assessor's office and the elected officials. So you can get to know my job better. Any questions on that? Okay. What we're going to do is talk now about the sales ratio, and I really want to sort of hit hard on this one because values are taxable, well, not taxable. Our valuations went up by 120 million this year from the revaluation. What that means is everyone's going to see huge increases, depending on the value of the house. You know, some are seeing 48% increases, 20, 25%, 30. Lower the house, of course, not as big of an increase. And so I want to give as much data so when people come in, I can say, take this and go drive by these houses. Because I think people, once they will drive by these houses and realize how much they paid, they're going to understand why the values are going up. The state makes us be at whatever the house sells for, we have to be between 95 and 105% as a whole. So if you turn to the sales ratio, after that second page, you're going to see we're at 76.65. That means we are that low, and the state is requiring us to be in between that 95 and 100. So basically, this is all the homes. You can go on these pages. Are properties that sold that are either urban or rural residential. So that just gives you an idea. Then you go to this next one, you're going to see sales ratio. It's 99.13. After the revaluation is correct. I mean, because this figure does not always hit that way because they don't have a figure to hit. I mean, they go in and value every house. So when I reran it again after the new valuations, we're right where the state wants us to be. We're at 99.13. And so the houses behind it are the same houses that shows you where they're at. And I've got a different breakdown here that I'm gonna hand out to you guys while we're doing this. On how we have not hit, even now, I'll go ahead and give this to you guys. And this is a good one I did for everybody, because you can actually just go drive by. And what this is gonna do, these are all the sales. Okay, urban sales. What the sale price was, what the assessed value was, and what the sales ratio was. And then after the revaluation, I plugged in the new values of the house, and you can see we're still low on a bunch of them. So this is just something, if you want to use as a tool, you got one, don't you? You go drive by your. So you can actually look. I've got them sort of ranged in that one. The sales price value, so you can, someone can pick up, well, my house was appraised at 190, well, they can come and look at houses that sold in that same price range. Because I'm going to try to educate people as much as I can. Sorry. So once again, it's just a way of reworking that data. Huh? Yeah, you take that one, don't you? Yeah. So it's just a way of reworking this data that I showed you here in a more friendly manner that we will have available for everybody to take a look at. Okay. Oh, okay. So what I did here, once again, this is just data again, and I tried to do summary to make it as easy as I can. I'm comparing the last 4 years. These are rural res. All of this is out in the country. And if you just look up at this top part right here, you'll see houses 300,000 and above. The sales ratio was 73, 64, 69, 53. I mean, we're for 300 houses that are 300 and above, we are at 50%, 53% sales ratio. And this column right here shows houses from 200 to 300,000. And granted, we don't have that many sales above 300,000, but the market's still strong. So, and I know this is a lot to look at, and you probably haven't reviewed it, but at least, you know, if you can go back and review it, you know, to where it makes more sense. Because, well, you guys are going to have my backs, because this is not me doing this; it's the state doing this, and interest rates were so low, so people weren't caring about overpaying for a house; they were just concerned about their payment.
Just did the reevaluation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How often do we do that?
We haven't done it since 2009. Yeah.
So, I mean, values are picking up, right?
Then it will change, and it's gonna, people are, I mean, we're gonna have a bust, because people aren't gonna be able to sell their houses for what they bought them for. And so then they're gonna be on the market longer. And then when they do sell, then what's gonna happen, our sales ratio is gonna be way too high, because we've got them overvalued. So, but it's gonna be a few years. It's not gonna, because what's happening now, you're gonna see in your taxes 18 months from now. So then it'll be another 18 months.
Just for your argument.
Yeah. Yeah, we're 18 months. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's hard for people to understand too. I do have some good news though. I don't know, this page right here. And I don't want to give you too much information, but because it gets confusing, I want to try to dummy it down as much as I can, but not that I don't mean it because of, but I'm thinking more of the general public when they come in. So look at this. Just because value goes up does not mean your taxes go up. Does not at all. If your house stayed the same value for 5 years, your taxes are going to be different because of budgets, and that's where I think people get confused about that. Two things affect taxes, at least from my viewpoint. And one is the rollback. We have a rollback, and then we have our levy. And the levy is because of the budgetary needs of the county. What I'm going to try to explain where the rollback is. So if you take, this is a property right here. Same property is down here. This is before the assessment up here. Okay. The same property, you can tell it's valued the same amount. Our rollback on this one is 54. The rollback on this is 48. See how it affects the taxable value. The higher the rollback, the higher taxable value. The lower the rollback, the lower taxable value. Then you take it times your levy. So what we feel is going to happen this year, and we had another loop because of the Department of Revenue, but we're thinking the rollback is going to be 48%, which means it's going to go down by 6%. So what that means to you is the taxable value of your house is going to be less. So if values didn't raise, you'd be paying less taxes. Does that sort of make sense? I know you guys have been dealing with it. So the lower the levy, the lower taxable valuation, the higher the the lower the rollback. Yeah, the higher the levy, the higher the taxes. And I sort of tried to go through that example right there. So what I want to do in that, I did another one that I think this will give some people relief when they see their value go up by so much. That one's not in there. I tried to do another one just to I'll never give it to everybody. Okay. And I want to go through these because we'll give you an idea. We did it in different price ranges. So the first line, you have your 2022 assessed value. That's what we estimated your taxes payable are going to be. Okay. Then your 2023 assessed value went up by $19,000, something like that. So we estimate if the rollback was to stay the same, you'd be paying $1,681. But we're thinking the rollback's going to be lower, so you'll be paying $1,429, which really isn't that much difference. These two columns right here. So then you can go down and you can see, that's 100,000, 200,000. Let's go to the 300,000 line, 339,880. Sort of compare. If the rollback was to stay the same, taxes went up by like 800. But if the rollback goes down, taxes actually here went down just a little bit. And then look at the $419,000 house. $7,368. Without the rollback, it would be going up about $1,700. But with the rollback, it's only going back about $300. So I think what's going to happen is people are going to get their assessment notices. We're going to mail them out by February 7th, not February 10th. They're going to see their values go up and they're going to be automatically think their taxes are going to go up astronomically. Majority of them, they're not because of the rollback. Now, if the rollback's wrong and it comes in at 52 or 54 or 53, then yes, but we do not think that's going to happen. The rollback is state driven. We don't know for sure because it's based on valuations in Iowa can't go up more than 3% as a whole. So the rollback controls that. Values are too high, so the rollback has to go lower to meet that 3%. So, any questions on that?
Is the rollback statewide? Is it the same for every single county?
The rollback is it's a 3% statewide, so they don't take counties individually. It's based off of the whole state of Iowa. Can't go up more than 3%. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that correctly? Yeah. So we have no idea what that is. How we tried to do this as an association is give the association and they did a spreadsheet of what our taxable value was, and then they combined them all together, and that's why they think that it's going to be 48%. But now with that new bill, who knows? It won't change my department much, but overall it might. So. Okay, any other questions?
How come your bill or the state screwed up in multi-dwelling?
Well,
Residential, multi-residential.
so it's holding everything up, and it's not going to affect the assessor's office. I don't think much more than $10,000. So I'm not going to put it in my budget. If something like that happens, I'll just have to do amended budget and take money out. But because we have no idea. It's not going to affect me much, so I'm going to keep moving on because we got to get things done. So. Yeah. Okay. And I don't know, I'll try to go, this is our assessor. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have another question? This is our assessor's fund balance, this page right here. we always have a beginning balance that they want us to be at about 40%. So they do want us to cushion the budget because they want us to be around 30 to 40% with a beginning balance that you can pull out if you needed to. So the beginning fund balance was 511. And then the estimated, so let's just go to estimated budget right here in the green. I'm estimating the budget to be 368,000. I want 40% of that, which is the 147,238. We want to have as cushion as a beginning fund balance. So that means we have $114,000 that I'm going to put over into designated funds. What that is you can take money out of your beginning balance and put it into designated reserves. So like legal, because of all that going up, we got 50,000 in there. So now I'm going to take that excess of 114,000 to a project that's to be determined. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but I can't keep that in the beginning balance anymore. And I'm eventually going to have to put a term on it. They're not going to let me put money just to put it away without a reason for it. But that's a good spot until we, as an association, decide how we're going to move forward with new projects.
Would that be a evaluation valid about that for future?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's to come out in 5, 7 years, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
What's the state say? Every 10 years you're supposed to do a rebound?
There's not a law on it. Some people can do it internally, and we may end up doing that next time. That's where I just don't know. We've got to study all the data that Vanguard gave back to us. So we're sitting really good, actually, to have that much that we can just put away in a designated project. Next page, this is just for you guys to have an idea of my data processing, what I pay for data processing. And I do down here have some in retainers that I paid ahead for projects. I'll keep going unless I hear something. So next is the education travel budget. That's just to give you an idea, because that's a big amount. I know it's in the budget, but it's required. And then after that, these are all the hours that I had schooling. I had 211 non-tested hours and 37 tested hours this year. So I was out of the office about 60 days.
12 weeks. You're gone
Well,
to school,
well,
60 days.
yeah.
Yeah, that was in the last year. Sounds right.
Now, some of these back here are things that you have to go to and then get tested on, that kind of stuff. Is there stuff in there that, as I can see over here, you've got tested hours and non-tested
Mhm.
hours?
Like when we go to
In other
ISAC,
words, are you going to conferences that you could be Zooming?
no,
None of them.
this is what they require. Everything up here is mandatory. And then this doesn't even have to do with my designation and training. That's because they want you to have a designation within 5 years. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of training. And that's where those other hours basically came in at. And I'm close to getting my designation. I should have had it. There's one class I'm waiting. It's taken probably 8 classes or something to get this designation. And they usually have the class in January. So I would have made that 5-year, but they don't have that class until June. So in June, I'll have my designation that I've been working on for 5 years. So I'm excited about that.
No, the only reason I brought it up is it's a $20,000 bill. Just sending you to education.
And my staff and Judy. I mean,
Cause I have to keep up my tested.
Yep, I seen that, but you guys got so many.
well, then like Andrea, she's going to be my office manager pretty soon. And she's going to these courses too. They want you to have that education. And so people in the office.
I
can
was just
keep
wondering
moving
if
up.
some way we could do, I was just wondering if someone can do that.
Mm-mm. No. And then I guess any other questions on any of that? And then just salary survey. I'm sure you guys have read that and will form your own opinions. opinions on that. Assessor salary has never been based off of two prior assessors before as any elected official. So I don't know why all of a sudden I'm the assessor and all of a sudden people want to tie an unelected position with an elected position. And what's fair, what's not fair. I guess that's why I did this, you know. Based off of wages, I'm the 9th lowest paid assessor. Supervisors are ranking 22, treasurer 20, recorder 19, and the auditor 15. So I'd say I should be based off of my assessors, what's going on in my industry. That's ultimately, and I've proven how, you know, I was 22 when I started, went down to 0 ranking, 5. And now I'm at 9. You know, it's just, we just got to have some resolution with this, you know, and everybody wants to do it different ways here. Well, the 9 lowest, you know, we've got a population of parcels of what, 15,000, but their taxable valuation is 320,000. We have 12,000 parcels, so we have 3,000 parcels less. And it's just, I'm sure you guys have looked at this, so I'll let you, if you have questions, just sort of ask me.
Well, I'll go. I think last year we had talked a little bit. I think we were trying to tie in the population of Worth County with the state, and I think that was not a good, as you're shaking your head, not a good comparison based on population. And I think at that point, maybe we said maybe number of parcels would be a better, you know, comparison to salary. And if you look at the number of parcels, which this is the first time I'd seen this when this report came out, it is the 9th lowest, which matches the salary, I guess. And if parcels isn't what to use, I mean, I guess the board would be looking to, you know, what do you use as a gauge to the rest of the counties when you're comparing salaries?
Well, what do you use then as a gauge for the recorder to the auditor? It's the same population. So population is not acceptable because we have how many parcels did you?
Well, and I was gonna bring that up because I was looking into that. Because it keeps coming back asking about population.
Yeah.
We have, I should have brought that form with me, but you got to remember parcels are more of an accurate guide because we have quite a few people that are absentee owners, whether it be housing, land, and they still pay taxes. They may not.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was getting at is
Right.
On the parcel listing, it does match the salary. That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
How is that though? If you go back and look.
I just counted, did a quick, based on 12,025 number of parcels in that listing there that you have there, that's the 12th lowest or the 9th lowest.
How do you get that? Because the 7th lowest has 15,526 parcels. They have more. If you look all the way down, I mean, look at population, you get in big cities, you can have 5 people to a household, 4, 3, 2. We're in a rural area where population, we do the same exact work, whether you've got 5 people in that house, 4 people in that house, 3 people in this house, 2 persons. And so then Brad, if I'm 9th, then why is everybody else at a different rank? Because it's the same population that we're serving. So I guess
I'm just going by the information in front of me. That's it. I'm not.
So I don't know if you're
I
looking,
agree. Population is probably not the best. So if we go by parcels on the list you provided, the salary matches the 9th lowest number of parcels in the state.
well, then, and look at the taxable valuation too. I guess you guys are just trying to put me in this box and comparing me to the,
They're just asking questions.
I know. Okay. I just want this to get resolved so we can move on to other things next year.
I've always used population because it's a benchmark for, if you got a lot of population, you probably got a lot of residential homes, a lot of property. If you don't have we've just kind of used that always when it comes to everybody else, it's used population. But I will agree, even if it's based off population, the assessor is running just a hair behind, just like the sheriff's department does. Right now, the auditor runs a little bit behind. When you base it off population. So,
Well, like here, Winnebago's 83rd and their parcels are 12,500. I mean, so that's not. There's a bunch of them in there that are right around it, but they're, so I guess it's up to you guys.
well, Winnebago, isn't there a deal? Which one does GIS? Yeah.
Yeah, she gets a $10,000 stipend for doing that, so she would be at 95,878. Her taxable valuation is less than ours.
You've got about 30, 25 years, 30 years.
Well, and it's so interesting now, you know, just like I put on the new assessors, there's 37 new assessors under for 5 years. The average starting wage is 84,000. You know, Mitchell realized they were running behind, so they gave a 15% raise 2 years ago. You know, if we want to go off of, I got a good suggestion here, I think maybe on the salary survey. Let's all be fair. How about we put everybody else down to my 9%, my 9th ranking, and then that will make it up. It will help the budget. I mean, what's fair? This does not look fair.
How many of that would you run with?
And, you know, when I started, I took a 23% decrease because I was on a provisional license because I hadn't been in the office long enough. I got training for 2 years from the Department of Revenue till I was off of that provisional. And that's when, in those 2 years, I just never dreamed that you guys would not put me back up. I mean, I went down that much because I felt I was on that provisional. I'm working with the state 2 years, and then boom, it just, I was willing to go down 23%. And then when I had the provisional done and I am actually the assessor, nobody wanted to help recapture that for me, and that's why we're at where we're at. I would be at 80,000 right now, or I think I'm 77,000 right now if I went to drop. I mean, two wrongs just don't make a right either.
What percent of increase have you had since you started that from 50,000 to 66,000?
I got it. I think here, because I started at 50. Then we agreed that I'd go to 55 in 6 months. I didn't do one of each year, did I? No. I know last year I got 3%. I know the conference board has 25% in for the sheriff, recommended 12% for the auditor, right? Compensation board, yeah. Sheriffs, I think Jeff is 8%. I think the auditors and treasurer recorder is 12%. Their budget may not allow it because they're at max budget, but that's what they recommend.
Well, we're still working on that number. But it's-
Correct. Well, it can't because your budget won't allow it. My budget does allow it. I mean,
That's just not fair.
I've got a good levy. And so my levy is very low.
But your budget is for our budget.
Well, yeah, but mine went up by 3%, not even 3%. I think. I guess we can look at the budget. My budget went up 2.465% and my levy went down. I mean, we are just in good financial shape as the assessor profession. But I guess we can look at the budget when you want to, or
What hit did we?
We've lost. We've lost. It went up 8%. Across, that went up 8, but when you take the plan into effect, it was like 12 point something to the employees.
12%.
increase to 40.
No, that's,
Single insurance right now. Unless you take the lowest deductible plan, single insurance is free. If you take the lowest deductible plan, if you're paying $23 or $29, they carry it for $750. So if you decide to take the absolute lowest deductible plan, you take it out of your pocket. Otherwise, if you take the other two plans that offer it, it's free. For
I don't think
single insurance.
That's individual, right? Yeah, it's not family.
And that's who we hire. We hire the individuals. We don't, family, we go around with other counties and everybody. We want insurance and. Everybody else is different. You can see it, but family insurance is expensive. We could offer free insurance, but it wouldn't be free if you take it out of your paycheck. We have, it still have to come out. We just can't afford to give family insurance away. Stop them up with single insurance, but that's part of our retention. That's what we're trying to maintain. And it's hard enough to keep employees here. Anyway. Big deal. Yeah. So, yeah.
You want to go to the budget or
yeah, that's,
next
we were just working on salary survey, so next one's budget.
budget? So I'll just let you take a look at it and see what questions you have.
I got a question.
Yes.
You got under telephone, you got $1,800 and last year you didn't have anything. What's that all about?
What's that about is Jody had a phone and then I figure I can just use my phone. And so then I took it out of the budget and I'm gonna go get a phone. I don't want, especially with everything that goes on. I mean, if I do work on my phone, they can take the phone if there's legal, because I think that came up in some meeting, someone asked it. Yeah. And so I thought, well, I'm not gonna have stuff on my phone anymore. I'm gonna get a separate assessor's phone to use.
Plus we use it for photos and stuff.
Yeah, we do use it for photos and stuff like that. So I want that division, so that's why that is that way.
So we discussed fairness. 20.9%, 23.3%, and then 3%.
Because they're where they should be. I've analyzed their wages.
Even though we've been giving 8% to everybody else in the county, they would get 3.
Right now, I mean, I'll give them more, but it's not like the assessor's position to where they're 9th. I mean, I guess we can do it, but you guys are, they're higher ranked.
I'm just looking at cost of living and that's kind of what.
Yeah.
Was based off her top more recommendations and we keep that in our heads too. We obviously know we're all paying more for everything everywhere.
I'd be happy to give them more of a percentage. In fact, I'd like to get Judy up to, on here is 80% assessors. And that's where too, deputies on average should make 80% of what the assessor or elected official is. What's different is like the chief deputy, the chief deputy, I was get hit by a bus tomorrow. She's the assessor. She has no choice. And so usually the difference between a deputy is the deputy cannot step in, and even in elected officials, they can't step in and do the job. The chief deputy can step in and do the job. So normally they get a 2% bump in that because when I'm out of the office, she makes the decisions. I mean, if it's something really important, she'll get with me, but otherwise she's got full authority to make decisions.
So by that increase, what would that take to what percentage?
That if it's 80% here, so if you add 2% more, 2% of whatever.
So that would take,
No, the 64 is at 80%.
it's not there, it's like 76.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, that would take her to 80%. I think you wrote more like 72 or something like that. And really nothing else has changed much. Of course, my mileage board and travel has gone out. I can't, and education and training.
There's nothing in for revaluation.
Not right now. That's why I'm putting that 114,000 from the beginning balance fund into designated fund, because I can't just start putting money in there without explaining it.
Right.
So
I know we talked about it last year is that we still probably want to set something aside
Yeah.
every year to get this in the normal range of 7 to 10 years instead of 12 to 15.
Yep, yep.
We'd rather see that fund be there so that you know in 7 years we're gonna do it.
Yep.
If it takes 7 years or 30,000 a year to pay for it, it's gonna be that.
Yep.
That's why I'm just making sure that all of a sudden you come down 5 years down the road and have to do a big money increase because we
Yep.
the evaluation money. And we're not doing that, we're gonna take a little bit.
What I'll do this year is check out different options of what, instead of having a reval in 8 years, 9 years, we may go have beacon fly, or, do a flyover every 2 years instead of 3 years. It's just, I haven't had time to study what direction I want to go to have an idea what costs are, but yes, AJ, I will be doing
Yeah,
it.
I just think that's good, based on 114,000, I just want to make sure that obviously it's done, okay, maybe next year it needs to be looked at. to make
Yep.
sure We're still contributing to that, so that I just.
I'm gonna designate probably next year. Yeah, it's got about 30,000 miles on it, 40,000. Did you?
Maybe put you in the.
Yeah, yeah. So that's something I need to look at too. Yeah, it's only got about 40 on it. No, but that is something, and I do have enough in that beginning fund or in the designated fund if I had to, but I don't really see us needing to get another one. We're not gonna want it to get trashed, but probably 5 years or something. Yeah,
Yes.
probably 10-year goal, every 10 years, you got 100,000 miles on it and you'll still get good. Yeah, but yes, and so the levy has gone down. Levy's running good. Max levy is 0.65, 675. So we added 20 million of taxable valuation. Next year, we're gonna add 120 million. That's not gonna be the taxable valuation, but we're gonna add a lot from this reval. So you're gonna see that go up tremendously. But remember, it's gonna go back down again. So that little. But then everybody's will go down because this market is going to be shoveled across all of Iowa.
Did you say that levy was gonna be, the levy's gonna be 0.515 too? Yeah, what you said that.
Oh, no, that's even that.
Kind of skip around there, we went from budget.
Yeah.
Right into discussing that. We'll have to go back and put those other two out.
What did we miss?
Handbook and board of review.
Oh, but that, yeah, those are after. Okay. Want to do that now? And then,
Yeah, do that real quick.
okay, because those will go real quick. I mean,
We're gonna skip the handbook.
you skipped a handbook.
Two.
Oh,
We haven't
Back
done
to
that one yet. I'm going by your agenda.
okay. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. Something in my handbook where there's always going to be gray. You ran into it too, didn't you? You've gone into 2 restaurants. This is a Mexican restaurant. and they didn't have. They couldn't do printouts because the manager wasn't there, so in order to prove I didn't have alcohol or something I shouldn't have on it, I took a picture of it. I signed off on it and they did let it go through. What we do a lot in training too, which like I'll get there on a Sunday and at lunch I want to train. So I'll buy like 4 lunches all on one day. So sometimes it goes over that daily limit, but if you do it across that whole time you're on, it's not going to go across the limit. And I'm in my handbook, I am having the allowable meals to tie out to the, what's it called again? The Iowa Department, basically.
The IRS rate.
The IRS rate for Iowa. And there's 3 different ones. It's 59, 64, 69, 74, and 79. And I figure since we're a small county, I'll take the smallest one. But we do go to the cities all the time for our conventions. So right now, allowable meals per day will be $59. And it will change based off the IRS gov for Iowa. And when you're gone 60 days a year, which that's not always going to be, sometimes it's going to be 45 or this or that. I mean, you eat out a lot and it really starts to add up when you've got to pay when it was only $35 and then you have to pay your tip too. And that's not fair and right, because I do travel a lot. It's not like it's just a couple times a year. And of course, at those ISAC, when they go ahead and have meals, of course, then you're not going to get up to that $59. But otherwise, I think that was the biggest change in the handbook.
You legally pay for tips?
Mm-hmm. Majority of the counties do.
I don't know, I have what it said not to, but I just didn't think we could, appropriate use of tax dollars or not.
Nope, you can. And we've seen handbooks that allow that. Except
Well, it's not the handbook necessarily, it's, it's the appropriate use of tax dollars being spent. If we give money to certain things, that's no longer appropriate, I'm just wondering if that's one of them or not.
my opinion, it's part of the meal. I mean, and other counties do it. Some do stipends and they just get $50 a day or $60 a day or $30 a day. And they don't have to turn in receipts. It wasn't Carissa in her handbook. She's got 20%.
So 35 we're paying across the rest of the county is not appropriate.
I don't think that, in my opinion, is no. But then once again, I don't know if you guys don't travel much, but I travel a lot and I eat out a lot and I can't have gluten and I can't have so many dietary restrictions. Not $35 is not.
Not enough.
And you shouldn't have to go and pay for your own tip of 15%. Especially when you are gone that up, that adds up a lot when you.
It should be included. That's part of your service, it's part of the industry, it's part of the, it'd be a slap in the face if you sat there and didn't check somebody. Would you personally do that? If you're not getting reimbursed, so I don't think that should be a question as far as thinking. Now, if you want to create a policy, come up with a percent of up to an amount of the meal for 50% to regulate, such as not going over
We did.
18% or something, so that you don't abuse over 50 of that sort. Or trying to come up with playing the game, saying you chip happened where we didn't. So,
And we're very conscious. We won't go and try to spend $59 every day. I mean, like you say, when I'm there, I don't have meals usually for lunch. I just pick up. So, I mean, we're very conscious of it. Just because it's 59, you guys go study it, you're going to realize that we're not using that much. But there are times when
You don't have.
I don't want to eat at McDonald's every day. They're getting expensive.
Any other questions about the handbook?
You run any of this by your county's HR? Make
Yes.
sure it's clear. Yes.
Yeah. You. had
Oh,
sent
yeah,
it
I
to-
sent it to her. Yeah, it was, yeah, I sent it to Renee.
And her take on it.
Yeah.
What'd she say?
It was fine.
Right.
It's pretty much close to the Wood County handbook, but just different areas.
Sorry.
Did it fall apart?
Yeah, I should have put that in there.
What about the closing the assessor's office? The courthouse is open, don't you feel that should be open as well?
I would say that would be more like when you had asbestos downstairs, or if there's something that is in my office more than anything else that I do have. And if it's, the weather's really bad, I mean, she's in town, we can all work out of our houses. I don't see that happening, but I do have the right to do that under situations.
Well, I understand if we put construction issue, or if we have those
Mhm.
issues, we don't expect you guys.
Mhm.
That's understandable. I just think that if the courthouse is open. Unless it's because of an issue like that. You know, that the assessor's office should be open as well.
I will try to do that, and that'll probably happen 99.99% of the time.
I know most likely, you know, I think every office has a minimum town business and really dead.
Yeah.
But we still have to provide a service, and we still have to go to some people still think that they have to go to the courthouse. and do something.
I know.
So that's where, to me, if the courthouse is open, I feel that unless it's out of your control, construction, breakdown, whatever. That the assessor's office should be open as well.
Yeah.
Like, so you may twiddle your thumbs all day, do what you gotta do, but at least it's there, if people need to utilize that office. And that, I feel the same about every office in the building, so.
Any other comments on the handbook?
Does this handbook have to officially be approved?
Well, it's not on the agenda, so it wouldn't be done today.
It doesn't have to be approved. I mean, I don't. It doesn't have to be, but if you feel more comfortable, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Next one up is Board of Review.
Oh, we're looking at possibly retiring one of our Board of Review members next year. Because he's a retired farmer. And you want to mix your professions and your gender as much as possible. So we'd really like, we have an active farmer and we have a realtor. And then we have our active farmer is also, Scott Madsen, he's also in construction, but we were kind of hoping maybe to get a woman or another realtor, just because they're the ones that really know what the market is doing.
I agree.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll,
Go after the knowledge that's there.
mhm. It'll just be because he's inactive anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
So
farming is the only one that administrative code requires they be actively engaged in that occupation. So,
what you would have to do is just let this person know, they no longer meet the requirements, and then we'll get, because ultimately you guys approve who that board of review. We usually give you suggestions, and then you guys approve the board member.
Yeah, but I got no problem with that.
We'll give you a list closer to send something off to you in November, something like that. Okay, No. Beg, do that beg, please.
We're still working. Now we'll go back to discuss the proposed budget, which we already started with the review.
I think, is it like 19 something? Is it that much? No, if with the rate increase, well.
Because
the
he's been
calculator,
here
7 years.
But yeah,
Can you? I don't have my phone here.
no, I didn't bring my phone.
Calculator. No, I'm thinking with the increase, then he'll be at like
I
19.
was just gonna say, use things.
Yes, thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Sam.
thank you, Sam. Okay.
20. He works 20.
I'll be 1856.
See, you got a couple areas that you did cut. Like we asked everybody to do. You cut your postage, you cut down on data processing and that kind of stuff, so. How come you got some things in here? Like publications and dues and memberships. And you increased them, but you haven't spent any money yet, half a year's gone.
Yeah, typically a lot of them come due in January.
So the only time we publish usually is our budget meeting. And then now we have an article running in the Anchor and the Signal for the next 3 weeks about the informal hearings.
And we want to start, Judy and I've talked about it, an education like Assessor's Corner in the newspaper once a month and just try to educate the public. So that's sort of what we want to try to do too on different subjects.
We want to be transparent.
Yeah, we do. So
There's a lot
sort of
of
like an
people-
Assessor's Corner, and
I think Dan Reader used to do something
Did he?
similar.
so that's on our agenda. Just got to get to this revaluation.
But yeah, the last time we published anything would have been in the last fiscal year.
Yeah. And like border review, that'll all come up, in March.
Mhm.
April.
And like with postage, it just depends on whether or not it's an assessment year.
Mhm. Vanguard, commercial properties and stuff like that.
You normally use that,
Yeah, for commercial,
but $8,000 usually gets paid up
it usually does.
using outside firms.
Well, just like when the state made this value exempt properties, spend all that money to value exempt properties. It's like, that came up and extra help, and so something, the state throws something every year on us. And like you say, with my budget, it's so much different because if I do have leftover, it goes in that beginning balance fund. Well, then if I have too much, then I just take it out and put it in designated fund. So my budget's a lot different when it comes to that. That's why I don't try to pad my budget, like, I know that terminology is used, but
You
Mhm.
can cut the levy. if you mean.
Correct. Yeah, correct. But then eventually you'd have to raise it to when you're, yeah.
No,
You understand.
no. Surplus,
Yeah.
There's a fine line before, pulling back.
Yeah. And I really don't see my levy going up. The only reason it will, because taxable valuations are gonna increase, would be when I start putting something away for the reval project or whatever we want to do.
Well, I guess I thought we decided. to do that 100%.
Well,
Fund balance.
well, we were putting 20,
Got rid of those.
yeah, well, we put 20,000 in, and they put a lot back in earlier than that. But I just didn't put it in this budget because I don't want an extra 20,000 in my beginning balance fund until I know what I'm doing with it.
Any comments or questions from the people on Zoom on the budget?
Is anyone on there? still?
Kim is,
Kim.
that's James is our part-timer.
I don't
Yes.
have comments. Thanks for asking though.
Kim Severson. City schools.
About 5 years, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it started at 50,000 to 66,000, 25% increase, you might have that 5 years, average of 5% in year.
But AJ, I went down to zero. I mean, I went down to the lowest paid assessor. That should have been rectified once I was off provisional training.
But next is Bradley's comment, you know, as far as parcel wise, it appears to think there's none, but
But that's not true. If you look, there's a bunch. There's a 11,630. You go, there's a 12. You keep going down. That's not true. There's 10,480, 11,920, 11,538. So 10,000. I mean, you keep going down, it's not. I should have done them in parcel order number, then you would have seen it would, you'd be more ranked around the 20, 21 ranking, something like that. Yeah, well, and parcel numbers are so misleading.
Taxable valuations.
Taxable valuations more important than parcel numbers. Because we've got 12,500. One of the lowest paid counties has 15,400, but their taxable valuation is 320, where our taxable valuation is 714.
And two, we
It-
have to remember that we still have to maintain those parcels that are exempt, that we're not getting
Oh, God, yeah.
tax from, but we still have to maintain those in our system for the state. So like we just got done redoing the Viking thing up here in the school, you know, the gym thing or whatever, you know. We still have to maintain those and add or take off. If they've added additions or they remove things, we still have to maintain those. And granted, it's no taxes, but yeah.
You know, the only way to make it fair is we're all ranked the same somewhere, then is that the fair way to do it? At least we got our own professions, and we're ranked the same way within our own professions, and that's what you know. To me, that makes more sense, because then at least everyone's ranked the same. Because you can't really do it by, you can analyze this thing up and down, and parcels doesn't make sense. Population, taxable valuation, it's.
Gives you something to go off of.
Yeah, this makes, at least you can see where we're all ranked. And if I get them ranked with them, I would have been at 72,000 last year, and then you add whatever percentage for this year. Then that's going to get me close to that, up to that 80 mark.
I personally have a hard time with 20% because there's nobody in this facility who that can be raised.
Sheriff's getting 25, and you got,
Whoa.
oh, it was
Oh, oh.
suggested. It was
That's
suggested.
top end.
Yeah.
So they put a limit is what they're coming out with. And then they break it down
At AJ,
By
did
percentage.
everyone,
by percentages too.
did anyone take a 23% decrease when they got hired? I mean, that's a new
You
assess.
didn't take it, you
Yeah,
took the job
well, correct,
for 50,000.
correct. I
You
did.
accepted.
Yep.
You didn't take a deep.
Feeling the honor of when I got off that provisional, being that it would be compensated again.
Did
Well,
they-
I'm with AJ, I can't accept 20,000. Now, there's two things, or there's three things. Number one, you got the position, what a fair rate, a position should be industrial, I'll get those. And then, as a person, you're reviewed on your character and how well you're performing, attitude, and then your performance. Been mayor for 22 years, and I haven't been to more of these meetings in the last 3 years than I had in the previous 19. So we've had issues, okay, we've gone through them. So does that warrant a 20% increase just purely on that? No, so shave some of that off. Performance, not sure, I can't judge the greatest on being here once or twice or 3 times a year. So you get that warrant, then you get cost of living. The AR cost of living COLA was 8.7%, that's the Social Security, that's your number to go off of. And then how much that also includes your health insurance. So you guys decide, and we have to decide what's a fair, good wage for the position for you. There's no one else in this room. And when you just go off of data, you don't know what other jobs and duties they're doing from other counties, such as mapping, other things asked for them to do, other years of experience on down the line. That just gives us a guideline. So we're here today based off 66,000 and what do we want to go up to? So we're trying to get real with that. So that's where we got to decide. We feel you're doing a great job. Then we should reward you accordingly. If not, then we have to figure that out. And if it's not a fair rewarding, then you have to decide if you want to work here at that wage or not.
Mhm.
So just comparing to other departments, everyone else, we gotta, this is this department, this wage. Your results of what you've done. And I can't help on down the line. That's a bummer, coming from a corporation that can reward you individually for their performance. But I can't, so. I have to look ahead at what we do have control over. That's this individual right here in front of me. So given that, I'm not quite sure where we're at and what is fair and what is, but it isn't gonna be 20% my vote, but somewhere above that, or somewhere above 0 and less than 20%.
I agree, an increase is necessary. The numbers we saw from the comp board. First words out of my mouth were absolutely not. Because they're all over the place. That's the one thing I get frustrated with comp board with is that there's no equal. So we're basing a lot of stuff off of COLA. That's fair. As far as that goes, we're still not there yet. We still may drop a little more. We're gonna try to keep as close to that 8% as we can, but what if we can't? So I'm 100% with Mark here. There's a number, there's a happy medium. We need to find it. As far as the deputy clerk goes, I have no problem being that a lot closer to 80%. I think other offices are really close to that, if not at that point. So if they're not, I know they've been working at it gradually to get them up there. Totally fine with that. That's also another part of retention where somebody moves into that position, hopefully they'll stay within the office if possible, if it works out. Keeping more people here, so that's where I'm at. I don't. Somewhere between. I'm gonna say closer to 8-10%. That's fair. That's just me, my opinion.
Do you know what Judy is right now? Isn't it like 72 or 73?
The percentage of hers, yeah, it's like 74. I was thinking it was like 74 or 5.
It's only gone up a little over time.
Yeah,
Cause I know when I got hired, we agreed to the 50, then the 55, and then we agreed to the 57.5. So it went up awful quick.
Don't want to
Because-
make a statement, I find out it's lower. So I'd like to know exactly
What? The,
per percentage.
For me.
oh, okay, for you. Okay, I was thinking you're talking to me. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't. Should have brought a calculator, but
I was thinking it's like the mid-70s. I didn't even look at that. I should have.
You know, your numbers there's the calculator.
I have no problem.
I guess I just get my paycheck and I do my job.
I have no problem with whatever would come in with Cindy having 80% of it.
Make the jump all at once.
I mean, she-
we have been working on yours, Judy.
Because percent is.
And I know, our treasurer doesn't, he grabs like 1% a year and he's been getting them up there and that's.
Last year at 6, he came in.
Oh, we're at 78. We have to get you.
78.
So
I have got it written down.
he took a 6 and everybody else got like a little over 7 last year. So he's been doing it. So I don't see a problem with that.
And I'd like to get her up to 82 because there's a huge difference in responsibilities with chief compared to, and that, once again, that's the assessor standard that we try to go to is 82.
Did you figure out where she's at?
78.
78. So we
Yeah, I
have to
thought
get
it was
you
like
there.
mid-70s, but yeah.
We went
I'm
to
at
80 on
78.
her, that one.
It wouldn't be that much. Well, we've been, I think when I got here, we were 72 and we've sort of been trying to.
And I didn't do any. Well, see, and I wasn't chief deputy when Jody was here. I was just an appraiser.
But you, yeah.
So I've always been, and now,
Took the test.
I'll make a recommendation. I'm gonna say 8% assessor, 10%. Or take your 80%. Or just go right to whatever it ends up being, take it to 80%. That's gonna be my recommendation to the rest of this board. And also with that recommendation, I think it's only fair that we hear and other employees, will go through to 6%, 8%.
That is your choice.
Yeah. But that's just a recommendation for me. Because it's us looking at 8%. Yeah, and I like say if they're towards the top of it, then that's fine, but I would recommend just maybe a little smaller one there, just to help offset the cost of living.
So then ranking doesn't make a difference across the. Huh? You ranked at the same. On the ninth lowest paid and you got treasurer 20th lowest paid. I mean, is that in fairness go across because then it's the profession?
That'll knock you up 10 spots. Will make you 20.
To me, that's fair. To me, that's fair. If you're gonna look at fair, because we're all ranked, say employees are all ranked at 20.
Unfortunately, in all that ranking, there is no fairness because everybody's job is different. There's different titles, different requirements. I mean, you're not all general laborers from the shovel. You're doing the same job. So you gotta take that into consideration.
Any other discussion on it? You want to make that a motion?
I'll make that a motion, 8% assessor. On the budget, take the chief deputy to 80% of her salary. And I guess. She can make the call. Other employees, just.
The rest of the budget stays the same. Your motion. Gotcha. Is there a second to that motion?
I guess I'll second for the discussion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We'll take a roll call vote.
Ari,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Mark?
Aye.
Mr. Molly? Enos,
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And AJ.
Motion carries. We need to set a date and a time for the public hearing.
Okay. So we will have to do the public hearing the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, or 24th of February. So that's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And that
Does it have-
meeting should go good.
21st through the 24th. Because the 18th and 19th are weekend, 20th we're closed, and then the 27th and the 28th, we have our informal reviews starting.
23rd items.
Yeah.
You do it early, that's good.
Well, it's early in the morning.
24th.
Those are good.
24th February.
And I could make it at a different time that day. I mean, they're like at 8 o'clock in the morning. Oh,
And it'll be
safety
quick,
training.
Mark, yeah.
There is continued safety training that day. So that's the alternate date for safety training,
The 20.
the 23rd.
23rd.
So that really affects everybody else. I'm sorry. It's
What dates we left?
so the 21st.
21st, 22nd, 24th.
What
The
else?
24th is good. It's a Friday.
Well, weeks out, so.
Let's not do that.
No, all work meetings.
Yeah.
February 24th.
Yep, as long as it's in.
You want to do it more?
Yeah.
First thing.
You guys want to do like 8:30? Kim? Kim?
No, she
Yes,
on?
that should work.
Okay, 8:30 on the 24th. Are you guys gonna want Zoom again?
You should just.
Probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
just-
Yeah. Oh, great.
And then I guess stress to the other members of the board that we need to make sure we have a forum as well. Yes. Once I get here, we'll send an email out to them.
Yeah, it was in their letter
Means it
too
is
that we
here
need
after
them
that.
to come because we need a quorum.
For everybody.
But we will, we'll follow it.
Just
You know.
just put it in there. I mean, we can't guide them and read it to them and walk them in the door. We have that problem. So I just, but yeah, we were close to this, so. And we already know one of our mayors is gonna be gone, so. We need another mayor to show up that day.
So we will run it in the anchor on the 8th. And the junction on the.
That's everything.
Right.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Oh, second.
A motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Remember to question that.
Out 15 minutes.